Hey everyone, Oldies DJ Matt back with you once again. Welcome to episode 6 of my one-off 8-part YouTube video series called An Introduction to Deep Diving into Rock and Roll Music of the 60s and 70s and some 80s. This is a re-recording of episode 6, which was originally posted in July. We got 6 albums to talk about. We're also going to look at a great pop gem of a lost hit from 1973. This one by a group that most people think only ever had 2 hits. And this wasn't one of them. And then we're going to finish up by talking about radio station and national music surveys. So I'll give you an idea when you say a song went to number 1 or it didn't make the top 40 of what we're talking about. But we're also going to show you a great resource, the actual surveys that were used by one of the most prominent pop music stations in the country. So that's all coming up. Let's get started. We have a couple of albums that are various artists' collections of hit songs from the 60s and 70s. And they are not exactly coming from where you would expect. So we have 2 CDs. Here we go. From the Guardians of the Galaxy movie series. And this is from the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. The first one came out in 2014. And the CDs are called Awesome Mix Volume 1 and 2. Make note of the cover, because there's also a CD released of the original music score from these movies. That's the music that they play through, orchestral music that they play throughout the movie. And there's also Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix Volume 3, which is completely different. It does not contain oldies and isn't really relevant in this discussion. Various artist collections are usually not that good. The explanation that I heard was that it's very time-consuming and expensive to go through the legal process of getting the licensing to include someone else's music on an album. And if you want to include really big hits, that cost goes up and becomes prohibitive. There are some exceptions to that. The motion pictures sometimes have 1 or 2, maybe 3 big hits, and then sometimes the rest of the selections are just, whatever they could get the licenses for. There's another exception to that, which I will tell you about later in the series. It came out in 1977. These 2 CDs came out, the first one came out in 2014. And these stand out because they are exceptionally well chosen. And they spared no effort and no expenses in putting together the collection of music that fans would really be happy about. What you have here is a bunch of songs that you probably don't have in your collection that you can enjoy having for the first time. We have some big hits, some minor hits, some well-known acts, and some not so well-known acts. So, for example, The Looking Glass, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, Redbone, Come and Get Your Love, big hits. You might not have in your collection older songs like Sam Cooke, Bring It On Home to Me, everybody's favorite Jay and the Americans song, Come a Little Bit Closer, the original Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. You probably don't have in your collection from 1970 the group The 5 Stairsteps, Ooh Child, that is a gem. ELO, Mr. Blue Sky, George Harrison, My Sweet Lord. I mean, it's quite a mixture, but it's so well chosen that just picking up these CDs and adding them to your collection instantly. There's one song on here, Lakeshore Drive, that's on volume 2, which tanked in the charts when it was first released. But over the years, it became a highly sought-after, deep oldies fan, lost treasure, and now it's available on Guardians of the Galaxy. So if you want to add some great oldies to your collection, these 2 CDs are really worth getting. Guardians of the Galaxy, Awesome Mix, Volume 1 and 2. Now I'm just looking at this song listing here. Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. Go All the Way by the Raspberries. Yes. Fooled Around and Fell in Love by the Elvin Bishop Group. You got the long version of that one. And Cherry Bomb by the Runaways. Okay, next. We have a couple albums that have something in common. They are both kind of jazzy, which was a little out of place at the time that they came out. We're going to start with Steely Dan and their 1977 album Asia. Steely Dan, very interesting group. It is a duo between Donald Fagen, who also is the lead vocalist, plays keyboards, and the late Walter Becker, who plays usually bass but sometimes plays guitar. They they've been friends since college, and they decided to form a songwriting partnership. And they got the attention of a record company who wanted to bring them on to write songs. But after the record company discovered that they write kind of intellectual depth, unusual lyrics, and had quite an ear for musical perfection, the record company gave them a record deal instead of them being staff songwriters, and gave them the opportunity to record their own music. So to that end, Donald and Walter brought in four other musicians, and there you have Steely Dan version 1, a six-piece band. It was not originally the plan that Donald would sing all the lead vocals. Actually, one of the other four musicians they brought in had a better, more smooth singing voice. But between learning all the lyrics and interpreting the songs the way that the songwriters wanted them to be interpreted, it just turned out better that Donald would sing all the lead vocals. I understand he took that on reluctantly. So Steely Dan version 1, the six-piece band, lasted about 3 years. And all this time, Donald and Walter were running the group like a dictatorship, not like a band where the members might, throw in suggestions and say, hey, can we do this, And after 3 years of that, including 3 years of touring, Donald and Walter decided to go on their own and let the other four musicians go and switch to becoming only a studio band, no more touring, at least for the foreseeable future. That would change in the 90s. And they would hire distinguished guest musicians to record their music. And that would include people like Michael McDonald, who at the time was a member of the Doobie Brothers, to do background vocals, and also some jazz, significant jazz musicians. Larry Carlton, guitarist, he played guitar on their 1975 album, and Wayne Shorter, a legendary jazz saxophonist, he plays sax on the title song of the album Asia. So the version 2, Steely Dan, the studio group with the distinguished guest musicians, gradually became jazzier. And it seems that for this 1977 album, the guys decided, let's pull out all the stops and get this jazz thing out of their system. And so you have some longer songs, more improvisation, some more complex melody development. And I think this album actually won at some radio station or something like that, a jazz album of the year, even though most people would consider it a jazz rock crossover album. But there's a lot of sax solos, a very beautiful performances. Even the two songs on this album that were short enough to be hits, they were Peg and Josie, are very unconventional in like the chord changes that they were using and so on. Other well-known songs from this album were Deacon Blue, Black Cow. Basically, Steely Dan, many consider this to be their crowning achievement. Asia from 1977. And continuing on the subject of jazzy records, this one came out 10 years later, And this is Sting's second solo album, Nothing Like the Sun. And this originally came out as a double LP and on a single CD. So when Sting launched his solo career, he took a temporary jazzy turn in his music development. Another well-known jazz sax player, Bradford Marsalis, is playing sax on this record. The music also incorporates a lot of international flavor to it. You know, the song from this album that you will hear on 80s hits radio is the dance pop hit We'll Be Together. And the rest of the album sounds nothing like that. The rest of the album is very elegant and beautifully performed, jazzy international flavors. Some of the songs you might recognize: Englishman in New York, Fragile, History Will Teach Us Nothing, and a beautiful relaxed version of the Jimi Hendrix song Little Wing, originally from Jimmy's Access Bold as Love album. And this is Sting during his jazziest, my favorite period of his career. He kind of goes through different phases, and he didn't stay in this jazzy mode for very long. But Nothing Like the Sun is a wonderful collection of music from the 80s, quite different from other 80s work that was out at the time. So Sting, Nothing Like the Sun, 1987. Okay, next we're going to continue our look at progressive rock music. This is, I told you ahead of time, progressive rock is a lot of different things, and some of these acts sound completely different. This is the second album by the Alan Parsons Project. Came out in 1977. It is called I, Robot. And I think there's widespread agreement that the Alan Parsons Project is progressive rock, but they are quite different than Yes and Genesis, which I spoke about earlier. The music is not as complicated or musically challenging. It's actually a little more relaxed most of the time. But they use a lot of the same melody development that progressive rock groups tend to use. The chord changes, a lot of minor keys, and sometimes it has and I think in the case of the Alan Parsons Project, it has to do more with the sound. Alan Parsons was probably, before the computer age of record production in the 80s, was probably the best at tape analog recording techniques, and he understood music very well, how to mic and how to set levels and how to use overtones and delicate nuances that add harmonies and flavor to music. Alan Parsons records sound beautiful, and he would spend a lot of time on the sound of the Alan Parsons Project albums. So that between the melody development and the unusual approach to sound and ambience and overtones and little frills and elegance that he adds, that's what makes the Alan Parsons Project almost immediately identifiable. So the Alan Parsons Project is actually a duo. Alan's songwriting partner and creative partner is Eric Wolfson. Eric started out as an ambitious songwriter. He wanted to write musicals. I believe he did. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. And also was a session keyboard player and sometimes vocalist. And I get the impression that Eric was the main songwriter in the Alan Parsons Project. Some of these albums seem to have a theme to them or some kind of a storyline behind them. Eric's lyrics don't always match that, but I think he's the one that added a lot of pop song sensibility to the Alan Parsons Project. So those are the only two actual members of the group, but most of the members of the backup band were actually also the same musicians. They were just moonlighting from different bands. Many of them were from the band Ambrosia. I'm sorry, most of them were from the band Pilot, and I think only one of them was from the band Ambrosia, and there were a couple others. Basically, if these musicians were available when Alan and Eric booked studio time to record project albums, they would play on the records. And I kind of wish they were listed as members of the group, just to acknowledge that. Most of them stayed with the project for many years, and so the project songs sound like they're performed by the same group because most of the time they are. But so that's what the Alan Parsons Project is. Now, when you hear them these days, most folks will think of the project as an 80s act, and that is because it wasn't until their fifth album, called Turn of a Friendly Card, that they finally broke through with success on the pop charts. That album brought them two top 20 hits in a row, Time and Games People Play. And after that, their pop hits charted more consistently. There was more interest in them. But they actually had some decent pop hits out before that. They just didn't get a lot of notice. The iRobot album had one minor hit off of it called I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. Now, I talked about the consistency of the background of the backup musicians on the Alan Parsons Project. The vocalist is a different story. They had a tendency to use vocalists picking out different singers based on the song, how well they fit. And so you run into singers like the guy who sings on Games People Play is the same person who sings on I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You, and he probably sings on one or two songs on each of the Alan Parsons Project albums, but that's it. They tend to move around to different singers for to suit the song as much. Now, Eric Wolfson himself sings lead on more of the songs in the 80s. He sings lead on Time, Don't Answer Me, let's see, Prime Time, and Eye in the Sky. Now, the reason I picked iRobot is because this is the most synthesizer, spacey, trippy album that they did. They usually use orchestras and choirs to add background sound and music to their recordings. In this particular album, they did a lot more with synthesizers. I think they're using maybe one of the first uses of a computer sequencer, and totally going out. Maybe it's because the theme of the album was somewhat based on the Isaac Asimov book called iRobot, about artificial intelligence taking over the future. Or maybe it's because Alan Parsons himself has spent a lot of time recently with Pink Floyd, who was using a lot of synthesizer and electronic effects and stuff like that. But this album is the one where they go completely into the synth effect, and it's beautiful, it's trippy, it's a lot of fun. I actually, if you listen to the song, the title song, which starts off the album in headphones, can make you dizzy. Other songs on this album that were popular besides I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You include the title song. A lot of the FM stations played those two songs in segue. Also, Don't Let It Show was a minor single. I think that the best single on this album was actually Day After Day, The Show Must Go On, which is a beautiful kind of a memory trip, 3/4 time, very dreamy. I don't know why that song wasn't a major hit. It's got a beautiful wavy synthesizer arpeggio throughout the whole song. And my favorite song on the album is actually one called The Voice, which is a spooky Halloween song. So, Alan Parsons Project, their second album, iRobot, from 1977. Okay, we got two more albums to talk about. These are both by acts that you've heard of and you know well. We're going to start with the Cars and their 1978 debut album, self-titled. So if you hear the Cars on the radio, which you certainly will, most of the songs that you're going to hear come from either the early period of the Cars, which would be their self-titled debut and its follow-up called Candy-O, or from their mid-'80s album called Heartbeat City. Basically, they are a little louder, but not too loud than what was coming out at the time. Their lyrics have more of an attitude, and the record is also produced in such a way that the songs run into each other. So another example of a record that gives you a wonderful start to finish listening experience. Yeah, in 1978, when this album came out, music fans were delighted. This was very much noticed by everyone. Pop fans were delighted about the fact that songs like My Best Friend's Girl or Just What I Needed had these wonderful pop hooks. Album rock fans who've been looking for something different to coalesce around finally found a grittier guitar sound that wasn't over the top. I mean, there were new sounds coming out in 1978. Hardcore, punk. I don't, you know, it. This was the first album that just about everyone could agree on. Uh, the Cars' 1978 debut album, wow, to this day a real favorite. And for our final album, Bruce Springsteen and his 1980 album, The River. So if you're a Bruce Springsteen fan, you probably know more about him than I do. Uh, Bruce's songwriting is captivating. He has a way of writing songs from the first person that have a certain authenticity, making it sound like he's been there. It's not just a song he wrote. He's speaking from personal experience. And his earlier albums, he doesn't have the E Street Band and the sound that he was looking for quite yet. In fact, in a way, the sound on his first few albums, the songwriting's wonderful, but the sound's kind of, I don't know, the band's kind of clunky. I don't know how else to put it. Born to Run, things start picking up with that one. It is on the 1978 album, I think it was 1978, Darkness on the Edge of Town, that the final ingredients of the E Street Band were finally in place. I think that drummer Max Weinberger was the last person to be added, and that gave him the sound that he was looking for, a bigger sound, kind of a sort of a wall of sound, something like that. And the album after Darkness in the Edge of Town was The River. This album sounds like it was recorded at a theater. It's big, it's bold. A lot of the credit for how the album was produced goes to Steve Van Zandt, who was Bruce's right-hand guy. At the start of the recording session, Steve would come in and set up the mics and help oversee the mixing and so on. And Steve dropped out of the E Street Band after Born in the USA to produce to start his own group and go on to many things, including acting. And today he's a host on Sirius XM. But so here you have the original lineup of the E Street Band at its peak. And what a collection of songs. The joy of Sherry Darling and Out in the Streets, the uncertainty of Independence Day and the title song, and the heartbreak of Point Blank. Bruce, in his earlier albums, talked a lot about youth and growing up and rebellion. And at this point, he's singing young adult songs about things happening in life, sometimes being in a situation. And so The River by Bruce Springsteen from 1980. Wow. Okay. Now on to our lost hit. The Raspberries. Yeah, I just mentioned them earlier because Go On All the Way appears on the Guardians of the Galaxy album. The Raspberries are best known for only two songs, the other one being I Wanna Be With You. So in the previous episode, I was talking about Jeff Lynne, who, as a 70s songwriter, perfectly captured the optimism, joy, and Beatlesque idealism of 60s pop. Another songwriter who does that quite well is the late Eric Carmen. So Eric started out as the leader of the Raspberries before launching his solo career. And his career, both with the Raspberries and solo, is full of amazing pop songs. And the one I'm going to introduce you to in this episode is called Let's Pretend. And it is baffling that that song was not a top 5 hit. It is that good. So please go to my YouTube page and follow the links for Let's Pretend by the Raspberries, the lost hit from this episode. Okay, so for our final feature, we're going to take a look at a great website that has all of the radio station surveys from one of America's premier pop radio stations, WABC AM in New York, which played pop music from 1961 to 1982. Main period that we're interested in here. So most of the time when you hear folks talk about whether a song made the top 10 or it made #1 or something like that, they are referring to the Billboard Hot 100, Casey Kasem's program, and the Big 40 countdown on 80s on 8 on Sirius XM all use the Billboard Hot 100. But in addition to that, most major radio stations had their own survey of what were the most popular songs, and they were conducted in different ways. And there was also a national chart called Cashbox. But what makes the WABC surveys so special, in spite of the fact that it is a local chart and not the national chart, was that they took great pains to make sure that it is statistically accurate and that no thumbs were on the scale. Basically, it is measured only on record sales. And I'm afraid that when it comes to other surveys, I don't think that we have that kind of dedication to statistical accuracy. How to find the surveys? Go to oldiesboard.com, and up near the top you'll see a link that says New York Radio Oldies Surveys. Click on that and you'll find a link that reads WABC Weekly Music Surveys. And click on that and you will find the survey page for WABC surveys. It starts off with a breakdown of the different years that the station ran. And then when you click on the years, it opens up the page of all 50, actually I think it's 51 weeks. I think they took a week off for the holidays. I'm not sure. But each individual page shows you the activity of that particular week. And it's a great way of looking at the past and finding out what was going on, as well as tracing the roots of a favorite song of yours. In fact, if you're looking up a favorite song, you can go to your favorite search engine, and if you're looking for a song, type the song title and then type WABC, type musicradio77.com, and it'll probably point to one of the pages where the song appears on the weekly survey. So this is a lot of fun to look at. At the bottom of the page, there is a link that reads The Weekly Surveys Explained. And that's an interesting story explaining how they went through great pains to make sure that the survey was accurate and unbiased. They were actually under a lot of pressure to stay away from payola when they got started in the business. So that's kind of one of the reasons they went through these great lengths. So it's a wonderful resource to look at, the WABC Weekly Music Surveys. Go to oldiesboard.com, click on New York Radio Oldies Surveys, click on WABC. Okay, that wraps up episode 6 of the series. We have 2 more to go, and I invite you to come back and check out the last 2 episodes. Until then, Oldies DJ Matt here. Peace, love, and rock and roll.